funk. Thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, high late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Eyes realize life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and reconnect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress and bring me looking like when blessings drop in. And so I cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah. Let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord.
Yeah, it works tonight. And that guy.
Whoa. It works, you work. What do you got going on there?
What do I have going on? I don't know what the hell. All I know is everything's fucked up, and you're going to be the man tonight, Dave, because
not
you've
necessarily.
got a lot of things for us. We've got to tell you,
well,
folks. If you were looking for a great show, tonight's the night, because our fella, he went traveling to the Capitol today.
Well, here's the thing, Brian. What worries me is, look, I want to be kind to you, but you'll probably mess everything up tonight because, I mean, face it, you're incompetent. So, trust me, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we come up with, 99% of the time tonight, it will be me. If you don't, 99% of the time, it will be Brian. And the other time will be a special person who I'll be talking about later.
All right.
No audio, Kim. That can't be right.
No, I was joking, but I think we have audio. I mean,
I would hope so.
Yeah, we should have audio. So
listen, Kim,
I was just joking, Kim, but I did a good job because I fooled you.
No. Kim, here's the thing.
Didn't want to do that.
With Brian, it's much better. When I watch his shows, what I do is I turn the audio down and turn the picture to completely dark. Great show then.
Well, I think sometimes you have to make a joke of your biggest problems. And, audio's always been, of all the problems, the biggest ones. And I guess it's probably a problem for everybody. But the audio has been an issue with me for years now, and why not play around with it a little bit? But I think we're okay. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to be, fine the rest of the year. I have a program that, feeds in a lot of different things, and Dave knows this because, Dave, you do this kind of stuff yourself on your own, and you just never know when that's going to screw up. Well, but I do know this: the audio is first; it has to be right.
Well, and it sounds like, oh my God, you're making me, when we're making excuses. But I would submit to anyone who believes that. I said,
we're getting shushed already. Kim's pissed.
Yeah, well, you should be. You're an idiot, Brian. No, but what happens is, if I always say this, look at MSNBC, look at CNN, look at Fox, look at NBC, best equipment in the world, and they break down when they're doing the transmission live, right? In terms of this stuff we do, the webcasting, if you will, or Zooming, whatever. It's just not there yet.
You're right, Dave, because we had to use the remote technology, even though we're in the classrooms, and it's this thing, this lag, because everybody's on their smart TV, and we do have the technology, but it can't keep up with the various problems.
Kind of the analogy that I use, being a little bit older than you by a decade, is I came in, the black and white era, right? And of course, one of the big things was when color TV came. But if you go back to, looking a little bit before, I don't remember much. I was born in 52, but if you look at TV from say 47, it's coming in a little bit, just some places, and it's still almost into the 50s. It's still not there. And then you look at what we have today. It's wow, is that amazing? And that took how many years?
Right, it took a while.
And now, we're still here with this. Now, the fun thing is, and I would urge everybody, get into it now, because you can have a lot of fun with it. That's kind of part of the fun. I mean, I learned to use new curse words about technology, and whatever. But
if you think about it, Dave, I mean, even though there are flaws to it, what we're doing right now is far superior to anything in the 1970s. I mean, you couldn't find a show in the early 70s that could look like this.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the things that's overwhelming, we're not going to go into great depth on this, but Brian and I were talking, we talked briefly. I think we talked about all of 4 minutes before we went on in the introduction. But I spent a part of my day after I was up at the Capitol. I need to unwind. So I was looking into some different technologies at shout out Chuck Levin's music store. It's my favorite music store. It's really a good music store it's not in DC. It's right outside DC in Maryland. And I was talking to my main man there, Jesse, who does all the podcasting and stuff. We were just talking about it. And it's overwhelming when you get into it because it just exploded before it was ready. And you mentioned it, Brian, with all businesses shut down, going Zoom, all schools going to some kind of programming. And so, they're just moving equipment and they're just having it out. And, it's just, there's just so many choices, right. That, and a lot of people, myself included, relatively still new to it. And, what do you get? What do you get? You mismatch things. But anyway,
right.
Enough of that.
Sandy was mentioning Ecom. Thank you for the compliment, Sandy. But I'm going to be completely frank with you. I just tinker with this Ecamm thing. I mean, I know they come up with the new features every week. Dave knows I can't help myself. So I really don't know this beta on Ecamm very well. And what we're doing today, I mean, I'm just playing around with it. It's, maybe it's just beginner's luck. Maybe you particularly like this setup, but no, I don't really do much with it.
Well, you know what? Well,
and I shouldn't experiment during a show. You have I mean, not to put Dave down, but you have legitimate guests who are, well-known people.
Wait a minute.
And,
what do you mean?
I got this guy
What
here,
am I?
you know.
What am I?
Talking about
what am
Stormy
I?
Daniels
I'm
grinding on his
What am I? An illegitimate bastard
jeans.
guest? Is that what you're? Is that what
He still
I
has
have
his
a mother
meal
and father.
from 6 o'clock on his shirt.
Tom Sharon, my friend. I ate.
Oh, is
at
it something
5.
else I should know?
No, I ate at 5:30.
That's 5:30. Okay.
Yeah.
No, Dave. I didn't want to insult you because you are better than most of the people that you would see on regular shows.
No,
I mean,
no. But what we're saying, Sandy, I think the thing is too. We're all. I mean, I've been. You've been gracious enough to have me on your show, and I've watched your show, and we're all. We don't have full time to do it. Man, if I. Our local Antifa, I was with them today, so we can have that. Actually, I was. We can have that talk. Now, it's just it's fun. I can't explain it any other way than it's fun, and tell Sis to do it once in a while, Kim. But whatever you do, don't ever have Brian cook. Oh my
no,
God,
I'm not a great cook.
Ron,
toast,
your wife,
eggs.
Your wife Ronnie
Spaghetti.
is an excellent cook.
Yes.
But you not so much. No. I hope that Veg shows up. Yes, all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to have Veg. Somebody up there in Canada, it's great. So we have Sandy, Yoda, Kim, Daylene, Mandy.
We better have Joey. Yeah, I was going to say.
Joey's amazing. When we started this, Divided We Stand, it
Number
was
one.
in 2020.
Number one.
Joey was the first one.
Yes,
I think
he
I
was.
had started it within a few minutes. He clicked in, so
No, man.
Joey's
Joey's
right there
Freddie,
for us.
Freddie, no, Joey's pretty damn amazing.
Yes, Joey Fulcher. He's a good guy. And I think he had his 70th birthday.
There was a birthday, but you're only off by 30 years.
Okay. Yeah. Joey always kids me about his age, so we'll
do that.
Anyway, we're going to have an interesting show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because Dave was his old self and did some, I don't want to say reporting, but he was at large doing his thing.
Now, there you are again, insulting me. Yeah. I know I've gained weight. When I was a meth freak, I was 129 pounds. Okay, you want me to go back to that? Well, you know what? It's like I said. When we were up there today, a lot of us were freelancers up there, and every news organization in the world was there. That's hyperbole. Not everyone in the world, but certainly everyone who had a feed. And we'll talk about that later. And I hope I just did a couple videos and some still pictures. But being up there, it's quite an experience. And maybe we'll get a chance to talk about it. It's nothing about me. It's just to be there. And what I think it is so, what should I say, good, for lack of a better term, is I came back and I read everything online that I could about it. And a lot of people saw it differently than I did. And we were all at the same place. And I think that's the importance. We always say, do your own research, not do Dr. Fauci's research, listen to his and do that.
Right.
But I mean, don't take these reports because they're not always right, especially when you're looking at, in this case, you've got side one, right? You've got side two, and then you've got the media, which has a different agenda. So it's just good. I would urge anybody that ever gets a chance to go to these things. It doesn't have to be a rally. I mean, if there's somebody like in your
I know
area,
Anthony posted a very interesting live YouTube video today on Divided We Stand on Facebook, which we hope you all will join. And also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you can be notified. Hit the bell. Boom. You're okay. So please do.
How come the only bell I ever hear is on It's a Wonderful Life and an angel comes? I never hear your bell.
Oh, well. No, you don't. It doesn't make a sound. It's just a little spell symbol on YouTube.
God,
so when you click it will notify your subscribers that
we waste a lot of time. I don't know why we're doing this.
All right. Okay.
Not why we're doing the show. Why we're wasting.
All right.
time.
Let's. We have a lot of stuff that they've brought. A lot of goodies.
Well, why
so
don't if you've got it, if you can drop it in, because we're going to try something we've never done. I did an eCam, and now we're going to try to drop it in. So that would be that.
Okay.
That would be the
now this one, I am going to have to kind of doodle with the audio, so it's just
Oh, I understand that,
Yeah,
and
so
I
we
hope
won't be talking over it.
I didn't even get a chance. I didn't even get a chance to preview this much.
See if
So
I
I'll
can.
be watching it for the first full time too, and then I can critique myself and say,
I'm
"Oh
gonna
my
see if I
God,
can
was
bring
that
us
Joe?"
in here
Hey,
while.
I know that guy.
Yeah, let me see if I can bring us into this one because I think they might want to see some kind of commentary. Let's just maybe put
Yeah.
us over there. I know
While
I'm
you're doing
supposed
that,
to ahead
everybody,
of time.
I thought this would be a neat backdrop. You know, it's not something I would normally use, but you see me. This is what I have for equipment, and so it's it's what I was using today. It's what I use all the time, and
All right,
as so we'll see if it works, right?
let's see where it's at. I'm gonna go to Loopback, and you might hear an echo for a second, but then I'm gonna put your thing on. And,
I don't need to talk through it. I mean,
no, you don't want to. You just
and
want
I won't. Don't worry.
Okay. So
Probably wherever you were for the past weeks, there's been a lot of concern about a protest planned for today in Washington, D.C., a right wing protest, which of course brought fear that there could be some type of repeat of January 6th, especially since this protest was directly related to January 6th. So going into today, what did we know? Well, we knew the following. The protest was going to be organized by the group Look Ahead America. It was dubbed Justice for J6. Now, of course, the J6 stands for January 6th. And the contention of the group was that the insurrectionists and domestic terrorists and some just downright stupid people who burst into the Capitol, and most all of us have now or saw live or have now seen the damage and the destruction that they did, were patriots, that they were standing up for Donald Trump and his big lie that he, not Joe Biden, of course, had won the presidency. Now, the group is headed by a gentleman by the name of Matt Braynard. He is a former Trump campaign staffer. Now, in a list of comic book characters from Trump to Giuliani and right on down, you'd probably put Braynard in about the C minus, maybe even D celebrity list. He's been described this way by people who follow domestic extremism. He said he's just like a nobody in the world of folks like Steve Bannon. In fact, one of them quoted this. That would be Brainard's, goal at the end of the day, all he wants to do is make a name for himself by rewriting the history of what happened on January 6th and trying to gin up undeserved sympathy towards the people who participated in what was clearly a failed insurrection attempt. Now, originally, there was talk about groups such as the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, right-wing extremist, terrorist, domestic groups, showing up. Both groups were involved in January 6th. But then you started seeing messages from their leaders, they're saying, stay away, don't come. Of course, Donald Trump tried to have it 16 ways from Sunday, as he always does, to use an old phrase. First he kind of urged them to come, then he said back off, but then he praised them as patriots, and oh Lordy, it just gets sadder and sadder and sadder when we talk about 45.
okay, Dave, we're gonna stop for a second.
But of course, What are you trying to do, Brian?
Hold on. Dave, we were having problems with the audio on yours. It was low. I mean, I had everything up.
I could hear it perfectly on my computer. I mean, I'm not.
Well,
if I can
let's. Everybody out there, I could hear it myself. It was just a little. It was definitely about half as loud as what we have right here.
Okay.
I just want some input from the crowd. We
Yeah,
may
sure.
have to move on and you have to explain about it because
Yeah, that's fine.
there's
We don't-
6
yeah, I don't
minutes
have a
left
problem
or
with that.
5 minutes left. Maybe that might be the best thing. Out there, Kim, Daleen, Sandy, everybody, Mandy, if you can tell us about the volume there, or Joey, did it go down or up? Or not, I thought the volume was okay. I could listen to it. Brian, I was thinking about getting external audio stuff with the Roadcast. I'm not sure what's okay.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Well, anyway, Dave,
don't really
let's
listen to
just
myself.
assume it wasn't quite loud enough for that one.
Okay.
Third
Yeah, that's
lower.
fine.
Okay. So let's just have you do a little summary of what you were going to say anyway.
Well, the only thing we have there is about the first. I was just setting the background. Now, that's interesting. I saw Darlene's comment, and she said, a studio background is not doing much for me, and but that's not really the purpose. What I always find offensive when journalists do that is they come right in expecting people to know it. So what I was trying to do is set the stage for this group, and this is very much a splinter group. It was there today. And we've got the back scratch.
I was hoping you weren't going to mention
No. So what happens is it doesn't matter. It's a D minus, a C minus. Just everybody stop for a minute, whatever you're doing. And here's what I want you to think about. You're going to see, if the videos that I took today and the pictures I took today, you're going to see a minuscule crowd. Minuscule. Tiny skule. But every person that I talked to that was involved with that said they won. Now, when you put on, I mean, you can do what Donald Trump said. Largest inauguration in history. And, we know from the pictures there weren't. But here's the scary thing. They did win today. I would love to know how many inches of copy were devoted to them in the last month. And I'd love to know the total time it took describing what may or may not happen leading up to it. Now, and basically what I did last night is I took some pictures, and they would have followed that. And I'll put them on Facebook tomorrow, which is not a problem. The idea was to go up there. Judy and I went up there. My wife and I went up there just to see what it was like the night before. And we're DC residents, even though we're not DC residents per se. 3 metro stops from DC, but we consider ourselves DCers. And I think it's maybe even more painful for us, but it should be painful for every American. So I'll describe what the pictures would have seen. We get there, and we kind of knew what to expect. But you walk and you see the capital of the United States surrounded by metal fences again. Signs up, secure area. Across the street, Supreme Court, same way. You saw guards back, not to the number that they were before, but they're there. And this was before anything was going to happen. Right? You saw the tactical trucks parked and ready to go. You see the signs up.
Well, don't you think, Dave?
No firearms.
What I've been saying is that they knew that this wasn't a fight they could pick today, because now they don't have their guy on their side.
I want to talk about that later too. But Brian, what I'm trying to say, and I guess I'm not saying it maybe very well, is we look at it today, okay, as a loss. Those of us who are opposed to them. They look at it as sort of a win. Now, they downplayed expectations, but I'm saying everybody's thinking about it again. And I don't know, you can't not do it, right? But when was it overkill to do that? No, because it was underkill. Yeah, but now we're in this thing, underkill on January 6th, overkill on September 17th. Will we ever get back to a balance? Or is this the United States of America or the divided states of America? And at this point, after, I talk to them all the time, but, I don't try to convince anybody of difference, and I don't even talk to any of my friends or family who are Trumpers. But these people I do find interesting when you go up there and you talk to them, because they are so convinced that they're right. Nothing is going to change them.
Right.
Nothing. Not anything. Okay? So I'll post those. Let's see if you can call up the pictures.
Those
from
I
today.
think we're going to be okay because
No, not the videos. Do the pictures first. I think so. Let's try
All right,
that.
I'll do that.
And I'll explain those. And that way, if the videos don't work, we'll be fine.
Sure. All right.
Just drop me in any order. I didn't.
Well, I know it's just that it's saying now that I have. Let me see if I can open Finder, show in Finder. I don't know if they're going to actually open here. It says the file day of photos JPEG could not be opened. It may be damaged or in use. A file format the preview doesn't recognize. Let me try another one.
Again,
won't open. No,
that's fine.
Can you have them on your computer right there? Because we can share.
Can't drop. No, that's fine.
You can share them.
No, I'll just put them on tomorrow. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, when you say, here's the, how do I say this? Here's the thing. When you try to play reporter, got to remember I was never a video reporter, so I'll use my words and try to make it.
That would have been cool. You being a video reporter,
No, it wouldn't have been. I don't like it. I'm not good at it.
So if the guy was shutting the door, like you're interviewing some guy and he doesn't want to listen to you, would you put your foot in the door before it shuts or not? If you were that type of reporter.
What, video reporter or?
Well, yeah, like I say, if you had been the classical, 1970s reporter, you have your trench coat on, and the guy wants to shut the door, and you stick your foot in there so he can't close it.
We did all of that. We listened through keyholes, of course. But
you probably got good experience from Villanova when you used to use those glass, those empty glasses with your next door neighbor.
Sometimes. I'm just gonna say one word,
folks. He didn't do that.
No. I'm just gonna say one word to Brian Sybil. Okay. So moving right along here, I'll try to describe what you would have seen had you been there today, and then I'll post the pictures tomorrow.
No, I didn't. I was out to dinner with Ronnie and and then I came here and he gave me them and I went for it. It was like the lottery, you just hopefully it'll work. That's why I say I don't prepare this stuff. This is completely unprepared and it shows. But you're here, so that's nice. We got everybody here.
But here's what we got. So first of all, when you go to a rally or protest, especially if it's against you, make sure you get a good lunch. So I got a good lunch. Had to get a good lunch. And you head up the Capitol, and you could see it just wasn't going to be this big of a deal. So if you could envision the front of the Capitol, it was almost until you got up on top of the Capitol, until you could see any peoples. So this isn't much. And basically there were 4 groups there today. Mm-hmm. One would be the group itself. A second would be protesters of the group, the antis, which would be our peeps. Thirdly would be reporters, photographers. And then the fourth are just, everybody's got a camera now and they want to be up there to capture it. Right. And I would say, and it was interesting to see how different, when I said different newspapers, different magazines and things, named the crowd. So yeah, maybe stretching it, I saw 450. I think that's high. 350 maybe, 400. But of that, not all protesters. But see, they don't say that. Right. That's one of the things I don't like now. Now, you can't go through and say, okay, who are you here with? What group do you represent? But that, I'm here to tell you, being there were under 100. They talked about 10,000 initially. They revised downwards. It was 700 going in. Yeah, Karen, if you were up there, you would see it. Now, here's the opposite side of that, Brian. I went in the crowd, of course. I wanted to go right up to the stage, and I did, and shot backwards, right? And you could make it look, right, if you're in that crowd, like there's a lot of people. And I think it's very important for all of us to remember angles,
Right.
where you are. And I've done it. I mean, not to make it bigger, but I mean, there's protests down here all the time. And depending on where I'm shooting, and I don't shoot video ever except for you, once in a while for myself, you can really make this thing sing. Now, yeah, when I tried to listen carefully to what they were saying. And basically what they were saying was this. They're the reasonable. Now think about that. They're the reasonable group today. They really were. If you were popped out, knew nothing what was going on, right? Knew nothing at all, you'd say, okay, because they're saying, now we don't condone violence, and there was none. We want to pray for the poor policemen. We want to pray for all those who died. Now, that sounds like, thousands of people died. One is too many. What was the final count? 5, I think, or something. I don't even remember exactly what it was. But again, they're playing this angle of we're the reasonable, we're sensible, we're this, we're that. No, because it was, okay, here's where that protest originates, right? Trump lies and plans to lie, and now they call it the big lie. Yeah.
By the way, can I mention, David, when Anthony put on that video, that was, you have to excuse my language, but it was just great. There was some guy, he was on one side of the police, and then you had the Trumpers. And like this guy kept saying, like, go suck a dick. Go suck a fucking dick. Yeah, and it was just, I know it's crude, but it was what you, at some point, you just have to give up and just say something like that.
Protests have always been, not PG. They've gotten a lot more that way. Yeah. On what does it say? We'll use Trump's term, on all sides, because it is true.
Right.
You could watch the tempers flare because again, trying to be somewhat objective in some area that I'm really not. There were still, God bless them, our people still trying to be reasonable and rational with these people. And these people are bigot, but they're doing that cold, arrogant. Do you know about the 12th Amendment? Well, what about the 15th Amendment? So I asked a couple of them, what about the 28th Amendment? Yeah, that too. There's no 28th Amendment. There's only 27 amendments. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They throw numbers out. So, now, what they tried to get the best lineup they could get, and boy, they got the F lineup. Now, before we dismiss them as totally out of hand, both your two favorite congresspeople, Matt Gaetz.
Oh, he's a real favorite of mine.
And Marsha Taylor Greene have spoken for that group. This is their third rally. No, Sandy, it was not a small rally by design. Here's what happened. They wanted, a big rally. But three things actually happened to stop that. First of all, Trump did not give it its full blessing, right? I've been interesting. We don't know now. Trump has not called anything after he hasn't been president, right? Now, great, he can't be on many social media, so we don't know exactly what he would be able to do. Secondly, the two groups that I think have gained prominence, would be the Proud Boys, tagline, I don't know what in the hell they have to be proud of, and the Oath Keepers. And I thought oaths were true, but they don't keep true oaths.
What the fuck is that, dude? The Oath Keepers. Sounds something out of a Disney film,
Well, look,
I went into the cave and the Oath Keepers came.
Look, I mean...
They promised to keep it open.
Well, that's part of it, Brian, but too.
What the
and again,
fuck is that?
We can make fun of them because so many of them live with their mothers. Did you notice how many? I mean, it was an inordinate number.
Who was that? Who's the guy with
the shaman? The
shaman bullhead or whatever his name is.
It just went on.
Look at his mom. It's like that show with. You remember there was? I forget. It was Chris Elliott. He played a 35-year-old paper boy, and he had to live in a treehouse. I mean, these are the kind of people there. But they're fucked up, you know. Like it's
They
lives of desperation, so they have to act like the
they
biggest
are.
asshole in the world. To
They
they're
are.
finally on. You know, they've got their
Now-
moment in the sun.
Right. Now, if you looked at the guy who put it on, who's the head of this group, he's just trying to make a name for himself. And what I find interesting is all these leaders on the political side, they're not the least bit interested in what they're doing. You know what I mean? Really, they're just trying to move themselves up from Trump right on down to this dude and everyone we encounter in that side. They did bring up at one point, they brought up the sister of one of the incarcerated. Now let's stop there for a minute. Of course, that was very moving. If it was true, it wasn't true. I knew the situation. So the incarcerated, they made this rally scene from there. If you were just, again, it dropped in from outer space.
It was Get a Life. That was the show.
They have, you would sound like, oh my God, America is incarcerating these innocents. The actual number, we've never had, and we'll never get a complete accurate count of how many people are in there. But currently, of the 400, I guess, that have been charged, something like that, only 70 are still in prison. And they're, so it's not like they're in there now. You saw, what was it, the shaman complained about the food?
Yeah,
Okay.
he only eats organic food, and he's a vegetarian, all that kind of shit. So
Well, you don't get that in
don't
prison.
get it.
Okay.
you don't. You get dick, literally. That's what you get.
Well, yeah, sometimes. So there is a scene if it shows, and if not, I'll like I say, I'll post all this stuff tomorrow so people can see it. So I'm going to lead up to if we get to those the purpose of the 4 videos, and I had a lot, but just pick and choose. One is the leader, so you can see him as he calls for a prayer, and of course there was a lot of prayers. Because of course God is on their side, as Bob Dylan.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean,
with God on our side.
and I wouldn't be surprised, because if there is a God, the way things have been going throughout the last, umpteen years, it hasn't gone in our direction. So there's, it almost has to be that way. That this guy is messed up top.
Well, first of all, there is no God, but
Yes.
Let's move on here. So next. You have this confrontation, as I said, as people were trying on side, because there's nobody there. So you had the rally going on, and when I got really up close and looked, there were, I know for a fact, now maybe their people were back, there were more observers there. Of course, you had press row; they're all over the place, and that's fine, as they should be. I didn't count, but at the front there were at least 25 cameramen in the front, and then all over the place. I walked up with a couple.
Did you see any Fox people there? Because
well,
they're weird, because they know they get
Yeah.
followed by
well, here-
normal
no.
people like you.
Yeah, well, here.
That's what I
Because-
would do.
No,
I would
well,
start following like
No. But Brian,
Tucker.
that's not what happens. They're not there. But what is there?
Brit.
See, there's like a pecking order, always has been, and it's even more so now. So the big cameras, MSN, all the networks that you would know, they get positioned right in front of the
Right.
stage or on the press. So you don't even see those labels. I mean, you can't. They're like in front of you. You're like behind them.
So there is a pecking order there with that.
Always a pecking order. Always has been. Always will be. You fight for first, but I mean, the guys that were in the crowd were the Independent. Now, I happen to know I read the Post story when I came back, and Post is still my favorite newspaper in the world. New York Times paper of record, but I like the Post better. They had 5 reporters there, so they had the crowd, which is so that's just 5 from the Post. How many? I don't know. What I find interesting in this age, like we do, awful lot of independence. But today, talking to people, I see them beginning to recognize independence more, right? Because the left is disgusted with Fox and OAN and Newsmax. The right is disgusted with everybody else, and they're kind of hold out a hope, that these independents will do their thing. So I always play different roles when I was there. So today I played I wasn't going to argue with anybody. It wasn't my day to do that. I've done it. And a couple of people after I got to interviewing them, talking to them, oh, you're really fair. I can see that you're listening. Fuck you. All I did was not get an argument with you because it's not worth it. So two of the videos, the one I said would be if it comes up. One is Catching the Prayer. The other is, oh my God, and I don't mean to make fun of him, but you remember when Roseanne Barr sang the national anthem?
Oh yeah, it was bad.
Well, this person, maybe she was just not those first couple notes. Wow. But that again gets this patriotism.
Well, did she get the words right?
Oh yeah, she got the words right. But man, she, you know something about music. We've played together. If anybody knows anything about music, I think in the beginning she was in the key of H flat, which doesn't exist. Then the two that I really think maybe tell the best story. I was looking for the most looking for the most interesting person to really focus on, and I found him. He had a General Flynn shirt on, and he was walking around the crowd because he was convinced he knew all that. That's his thing. So he's walking around the crowd, engaging in really discussions. There was no shouting. He knew that he knew it. One of their guys, and taking on people. So the short video is him taking on someone, and he thinks he wins.
Okay.
And
let me see if I can dig that up here.
Do the first. They're in the order. Put them on if you can.
It says Right Wing Rally 2. Is that the first one?
No, Right Wing Rally 1 is the first.
Okay, let me.
They go in order. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let me get it on the screen first.
Yeah, let's see, and then I'll talk a little bit.
And if we're lucky, this one probably will be louder. I want to make sure that YouTube's up.
Turn the volume up all the way, man.
Okay,
have
get
it
everything
feedback.
up.
By the way, Brian, feedback is appreciated tonight. 1970, correct? So 51 years ago tonight, or 51 years ago today, Jimi Hendrix died. So
yeah. Hold on, yeah, September, right, September 18th.
Today.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, I do remember that day, and I'll tell you why. Because a neighbor, one of my sister's friends came by, and he knocked on the door. I remember his name, David. He's one of the little kids you saw in these old Super 8 or regular videos. So he said that Jimi Hendrix died to my sister, and I knew his name. This was 1970, and I said, "Oh my God, the greatest drummer in the world just died today." And I remember because I knew he was something really good, and I was only 10 at the time. But of course, for me, we were still listening to AM, Dave. So you didn't really hear Hendrix. You were still hearing maybe the Turtles or something like that.
Since we can do whatever we want on this show, I'll just describe for the people. I think it's good for them to know something about us. So this is my Gary Peacock was with me. Who's one of our frequent posters and listeners, and there were 8 of us in New Brunswick at Rutgers University. I was going to Villanova at the time, and we met up there, and we had some very, 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 very good mescaline. And a couple of guys were going to trip for the first time because remember, we hadn't been in college all that long. Started in '69, and 3 of us ended up. I don't know. We went somewhere, and we picked up this guy, and he took us back to his place. And remember they had the wine skins, that were the old West things,
Right.
And he said, "That's a great wine, man. We drank it." And he said, "But I guess I should have told you. I don't know if I put 8 or 10 tabs of acid in there."
Right.
So my September 18th with Jimmy being dead was very interesting in terms of let's just say reality left on an what?
I can't imagine you on acid,
Well, I'll tell you what, Brian, it was very scary because I've always been talkative, I've always been this, and in this, I was so dosed, and I wasn't expecting, that I actually thought I died, so I couldn't talk, so there was no reason to talk. And across the street from where we were staying was a police station, and I just sat on the porch for a couple hours, said, maybe I should turn myself in, but I'm dead. Why would I do that? So
I can imagine you, for some reason, I've always thought of you as the guy in high school that, when you're in school, even in elementary school, there's always a kid who takes a tack. And in those days, those seats would have 4 screws. And you put the tack right on the metal so they can't see it. But I'm thinking, if you're an acid, you take the whole bag and start, putting it all over.
No, it was, seat, that day I would have...
Did we lose the audio? Hold on, Dave.
Let's see what you got.
All right, let's
Throw
put
that
this
bad
on.
boy.
Okay, I'm gonna take us off the interview sound and go right to the loop.
Let's
back.
see what happens.
Okay. And here we go.
Pledge. We have the anthem. Included in this prayer is prayers for the Capitol police officers who've lost their lives in the aftermath of January 6th, for the many people who died on January 6th. And that's extremely unfortunate. We regret that. That shouldn't happen. And they're close to our hearts and deep in our prayers. So we're going to open up with a prayer for my good friend Ned. Ned, why don't you come up here?
Good afternoon. I'd like a moment of silence for the Americans and the police officers that perished on J6.
Okay, should I put on 2, Dave? Okay. That was that. Hold on.
We have been lied to about our national security, our border, and even our health. And that they're lying about our patriots rotting in D.C. jail without due process. We are being used as examples to not resist, to not...
Now, hold on, Dave. I'm going to put this back in there. Now, actually, I was kind of interested in the second one there. That sounded like one of the crazies, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, it was. It was. She's saying we're being used. We're being
Almost
punished.
sounded like one of ours until you listened, you know?
Well, I'm saying that, and again, it got deeper as the sister talked and this woman talked, and but I like the word. It's quick, you can't always say it, but they really view themselves as resistors. That that they are the patriots because they're resisting. They called it. What were some of the terms they used? Biden's death camp.
Yeah, and they're all
Really?
seeming to be clamoring against. I mean, I told you about my cousin. I forgot to tell you. All he did was just do you like General Milley? And then I knew what he was alluding to. He hates it. Everybody's after Milley now. The military.
Well, Brian, yeah. What happens is, and I've said this before, it's not original with me. They're piranha, and I don't know much about piranha, but I know piranha eat things, right, in the water. And then eventually, when there's nothing to eat, they eat themselves. And that's kind of where you are right now. Part of his ego. Next week, I've been researching something now that is even Mr. Bannon. Now, I make fun of everybody. I don't make fun of Steve Bannon too much. I really don't. He's not like them in the sense that he is not stupid. He's done some stupid things. And he's got a new plan, which we'll talk about, that we'll talk about next week. But just that was the idea of it was just so small. Now, a small crack can cause problems too. But it wasn't. I don't know if you noticed, Brian. I mean, again, we're not doing, that all those comparisons. I'm not showing a big video. But I was also interested in the number of people that wore masks. There were maybe 15 of us, 20 maybe. All I mean, I'm not media, but all involved with that. No, I think somebody missed. I wasn't high near the Capitol. That was a long time ago. And did you also notice, Brian, which I found very interesting today? The pictures will show it tomorrow. The lack of signage, a lot of that, meaning and actually, I would be relatively confident I didn't, do the whole survey because it was hot out there, but I would feel safe in saying there were more anti-Trump, anti-right-wing, anti-Oathers, anti-whatever you want to call
Especially when
it.
they saw the crowd was smaller. Now you can really, you might be able to do some stuff,
Well, and that was...
Because now you can turn the tables. If you have 400 against their 200, now we'll see how bold they are.
Well, the other thing was, I've seen him shut down a few times here over the years in the Trump era. But there were actually 2 protests today opposed to them. I like the one Antifa ran at Freedom Plaza. I just went down there a little bit. They had a family picnic. Think about that. A family picnic. You know, to show this is what we are. And they really are. I mean, they were ready. They did send some of their stormtroopers up, you know, the squad, to be there. And man, they were just fuck.
Speaking of squad, did you see? I mean, I don't get into looks, but the dress that AOC had, you know, tax the rich. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. It was very, very cool. Yeah. So now the next one, Steve Bannon is creepy. The problem is, Karen, I think, well, I was wrong. I actually thought Steve Bannon was the power behind Trump when he first came in.
I did too.
I think, you know, I was looking, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I underestimated Trump.
Donald Trump is the power behind Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, I underestimated him. And I thought, when I say I thought I knew him, I mean, I followed him in New York and followed him in Jersey. But no, but Bannon, I mean, I don't know much about him. When he first kind of emerged, because we're going to hear a lot more about him in the years to come, if he doesn't go to prison or something. But his college roommate said, man, I don't know what happened to him. He was like really a liberal, and he loved Bruce Springsteen, right? And he said something happened. Well, that happened to Charlton Heston, you know, who became the NRA
Ronald
president.
Reagan.
Ronald Reagan started out as a left wing. John Wayne was always.
Didn't Dennis Miller do that? Was he really?
Yeah, Dennis moved over for a while, you know, and of course today it's all about if you're on, you know, it's about your role and positioning and acting and that kind of thing. But no, I think Bannon, you know, he's been. I don't know if you knew this, Brian, but after, you know, when he got thrown out, he went over to Europe and started working with dictators. He made a lot of money over there, and he's kind of become.
Well, that seems to be the thing over there, Dave.
Well,
Which
of
we
course.
mentioned
But
about 3 weeks ago. I mean, that is the thing.
Right.
Hungary.
You know, like my favorite, is James Carville. I mean, how can you not like James Carville? You know, he's a good old boy who kind of keeps it simple. And I think Bannon may be his equal. The difference is that Carville did not do much, if anything, illegal other than to support, you know, Bill Clinton through whatever he was going through. Bannon, that's not the case. So this gentleman, as I said, I kind of, we'll see if it comes up. The first video is just him and this other guy, and that's where I picked up on it. And then I said, I'd like to interview you, come over here. And I listened to about 1 minute and 17 seconds of it because I want people to listen, not because I took the video.
Is this the one Right Wing Rally 3 or 4?
No, 3. Brian, let me explain something about math. Okay, so 1 comes first, 2nd comes second, 3rd is third, and 4th comes
well,
first. So
next
this
is Rally 3, so I'll put it on, but I hope that's the one
That's
you
what it
want.
is.
All right.
Rally 3.
Okay.
If it's 2 dudes, yes.
Let me stop it for a second. Okay, this already I can tell this is going to be exciting because I just sense this shit. Okay, let me put it on. Oh, Dave, they can't hear you.
You don't even know about the 12th Amendment.
Right,
How are you making yourself so compelling and
I agree.
convincing? Not to me, but to
Well,
yourself.
I
When
get
you
it.
don't even have, you've never read the 12th
debate.
Amendment. No, please, don't run away.
You've had plenty of real media to...
No, but don't run
to
away.
tell your- I'm not running away.
Please, let's have this
Look,
conversation.
I'm walking away because I came here to ask you about your shirt. Keep
Yeah,
avoiding
but
the
I'm
question.
answering. You
So
ask
now
what
I
you
am-
want to ask.
am
I answer
walking
whatever
away.
I want to
I
answer.
used to run. So I
That's
haven't
what's
run away.
freedom about.
Now I am-
Freedom is about that.
I am walking.
Okay.
Yeah, freedom is about not answering the question. You know, you just whatever you answer is the answer to the question. You know, that's what they seem to be doing, Dave. And I saw that on a post of an old friend of mine, and you know, he's still a Facebook friend, but I saw him making a post about the Civil War, and he was saying he was accusing one of his old friends of being stupid because he said, you know, if you your problem is you don't read history. And the Civil War was about states' rights. And you know that they always talk about that shit. You know? Like, it's like way down the list, you know?
Well, and I like what that...
But that's what that guy did, essentially. You know,
Yeah.
he gets the question, and he goes here.
Well, that's where they take it. They want to go, and then they turn around. I like I like that little interchange. I mean, no violence. I like that little interchange. Well, you don't have to run away. And our guy turns and says, I'm not running away, I'm walking away. And then he comes back, but you don't have to do that. We're just going to tell you. He says, well, I asked you about your shirt, which was this General Flynn shirt. And then you started talking about the 12th Amendment. And you heard our dude, who's from Virginia, not our dude, I mean anti-our dude. And he says, well, that's what freedom is. You ask me a question, and I tell you what I want. Which is not what freedom is, right? It's really not. So I was kind of captivated by that dude. And so all of a sudden, I got him, and then all these media come. You'll see that. The other thing I want people to focus on this one. I took pictures again. One's in the shelf somewhere. Think about how unprepared the police were on January 6th, and look at what you're going to see in this video. Go ahead, Brian.
All right,
throw it up.
let's do it.
About a minute 17.
All right, because most of these are really short, I noticed. So we'll get this going. I do have to go to Facebook first to get that video. Hold on, Dave. I just want to make sure we're okay. There you go.
Spears,
Fifth Amendment, right? You're familiar with the Fifth
baseball
Amendment?
bat. Some of them had their own batons pulled from them
What about the 12th Amendment? Take a look at it.
after
So my
those
question
folks
for
and
you
the
is,
folks
why are
in
you not
jail
reporting on the 12th Amendment
pushed
and
their
that it's about
way
to be
and
triggered
battled their
because
way
Arizona is about to
over
decertify its
police
11 electoral
barricades.
votes,
And now they're being used as
and
political
potentially the
weapons
U.S.
for
Senate
CNN.
seat
Some of these
may go to
people,
Martha
some of
McSally,
these
They're
right?
here for a photo op.
In Arizona.
were sprayed with
Georgia
mace.
is going to have a hearing on that very issue regarding the electors on Monday. That's 16 electoral votes. And then later, potentially, we're looking at, there's 3 audits going on in Wisconsin. Those are 10 electoral votes. So you got a Senate seat up for grabs in Arizona based on the audit. You got another Senate seat up for grabs in Georgia as early as this week, depending on how that judge rules. And then you have 3 audits going on, legislative audits, in Wisconsin. That's 37 electoral votes, which removes 37. Currently, Biden has 306, brings him to 269. Thus, it triggers the 12th Amendment, where one state, one vote in that house over there, they determine who the president is going to be after those decertifications. If you want to talk about
My man sounds like he knows what he's talking about. But just follow that logic if you can. Well, I know this is going to, and if this happens, this will happen. And if that, no.
And he's trying to come off as somebody who really knows something, and that's going to happen.
Now, the 3, I shoot video for different reasons, and the way that I get painter's paint. I like the chaos of that video. Think about this: you had
Well, it's kind of
one
like
guy.
controlled chaos, though. I mean,
No. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about. You heard the guy in the back, right? Did you hear the guy shouting in the back? Not shouting at him.
right. I heard him shouting.
Okay, so he's talking about supporting your police, and how bad it was. You got this guy doing the 12th Amendment, and then you've got. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm glad they're there, but I've never been a big fan of heavily armed anyone's. And to walk in there, I kept thinking, and I'm glad they were there for the people. But it still kept reminding me of stormtroopers, right? I mean, that's kind of where my mind went. And the problem with this heavily armed non-military that we have, that have the weapons of the military, is today they were our guys,
Right.
and our women. Tomorrow they can be somebody else's.
Right.
And
the tomorrow's guys are a lot worse than our today's guys.
And that's it. So that's America. That's Washington, D.C. I'm sitting here. I hope my granddaughter doesn't see that video. I didn't tell her I was going. She told me not to go a number of times before. But it's just too important. I think I don't go because I'm brave. I would never go. I would never go. In fact, I was talking to some of the crazy ass photographers that were there, and one time when I was a reporter, we were in the middle of a shootout, literally. I mean, it was shots fired. And I just grabbed a tire and hugged so hard because I knew I could go back and write the story. And those crazy photographers are out there shooting, pictures. So I would never go, where I thought there was a potential for danger. That's another thing I would say. In America, though, today, there's a potential for danger no matter where we go, right? You went out to dinner tonight. I know where you went.
Right.
It's a very right-wing area.
But I did see what I think were liberal people in that restaurant because it's expensive and the locals don't want to put out the money.
What I'm saying is, it could be any restaurant in America. And I did a little research coming back, as I said, and I read this really interesting but rather frightening thing, and we've talked about it, is that it sounds good. It sounds good, like all these brave guys are spooked to come back to Washington, D.C. Obviously, they were prepared. It could not have played out today the way it played out on January 6th. There was no way. Forget the numbers. Forget whatever. They were ready. But they call it chatter, right? It's being picked up now. Is the fact that they're talking about the targets, state targets. And the belief is of people down here who study domestic terrorism that that's what's coming. That there won't be national now. We've already seen, the plan to kidnap the Michigan governor, Gabby Gifford being shot prior to Oklahoma City. I think federal institutions in that aren't in Washington D.C. Will not. There's certain signs. I'm not going to name because I really do feel sorry for the hotel. Anybody comes down, I'll take you to it. There's a hotel that the Proud Boys make their standard hotel in D.C. And
I'm surprised. I would have thought it'd been a motel.
No, there are no motels in Washington D.C. It is one of the more inexpensive ones. It's a relative term, but it's there. It was their hangout, and I have to give this place credit. It wasn't the hangout on January 6th because they refused to open. They shut it down. They shut the hotel down. They shut the bar down. They shut everything down. But today they kept open. And, that's not the best sign. I said, okay, if they're open, then, no danger, no problem. But tonight, somewhere, there's plots that, if coming to fruition, will cost lives in America. And I think it's just, I know it sounds like a broken record for all of us, but I just really, we have it all drilled in our head. Afghanistan terrorists, this, that, and the other, right? Foreign terrorists. They're not foreign, Brian. You know it. I know it. Anybody with any sense knows it. They're here, okay? I can't even put it on a scale how much more dangerous these people are than any foreign terrorist, out there now. And one of the problems, if you think my country right or wrong, or my party right or wrong, or my cause right or wrong, is this, speaking of the United States, we make mistakes. God, we make tons of them. We made one just recently in Afghanistan. Did you see where the
right, they hit something in Kabul.
Drug kill seven.
But that is going to happen. That is going to happen.
I got that. But my question is, do we kill any terrorists in that bombing, or was everybody? And I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy that. I watched Homeland, love the show, but they're not. Unless you're going to say they're all the enemy. And they're not. With the sophistication we have, we should be able to be a little bit more selective. Order said the police response at Danforth Turnout for Justice rally, which serves as a platform for pro-Trump officers seeking House seats next year. That is true, Anthony. And there were two people running for House seats that spoke. None of them were elected yet. And we're going to see, I'm going to go on a prediction here. Of course, with the clock's ticking, right? I only have 3 weeks, according to my prediction, for Trump to declare for presidency. So I said he would do it last show within a month, 4 weeks. But we're going to see some really very, very strange candidates. We've already seen the first. You know who's running in Georgia, right, as a Trumper? Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker, right?
And if anybody doesn't know who Herschel is, at one point he was arguably as great a football player as there was. And we're going to see that now. Just a couple comments in general for the week. First of all, we should be very pleased with what happened to the California recall. Okay, and basically what happened, and I didn't know much about. I mean, each state. That's another problem. We'll talk about something. But each state has a different recall. But California is really weird. You get to recall the governor, right? Then anybody can run for the position, and if they get 50% of the vote, or the most 50% or more, if they're running against the governor, they then become the governor. Boy, is that bizarre. And we saw one of your favorite commentators, Larry Elder, moves to the point. And here's what I find interesting. It was pretty much, it looked like Newsom was in some trouble. As soon as Elder moved to the top, Newsom did a very smart thing. Just focused. He's Trump, but worse. And, it could be now, when it's done, it could be 70% of the vote came to Newsom. So, it is
Obama
California.
Made a
What?
video.
Yeah.
Obama.
So, I
made
mean,
a video.
this idea that, oh my God, so much danger. Their rally fizzles today. I mentioned I'm still concerned with the amount of play it got. But the thing about that play is there may have been people turned off. There may have been people turned on. But my gut feeling is more people turned off. But to think about what it does, we've got the pandemic out there, which has people terrified. In Washington, D.C., I don't know how many left. A lot of people who live in Capitol Hill were talking about leaving, for the weekend. We had friends coming down who chose not to for fear of what might happen. Had a number of people when they knew I was going today say, don't go. Yeah, I'm going to go. I mean, somebody has to go, right? And I think the irony of all that is the fact that I thought there were more of our people there, or media people and our people, definitely, but even our people there, than their people. And there again, their people, our people, us, them, divided, we stand.
Right.
Now, the pandemic, and we need to talk about that just for a moment, I think. So what are your thoughts currently about the pandemic, Brian? Because there is a linkage here, right? I think you make a charge. What shall we call them tonight? The ultra-right Republican Party, Trump, whatever. They're literally trying to undo democracy and kill it, and probably kill some people with it, and then make patriots of those who killed them. But they're also killing us with their refusal to recognize how bad COVID is. So what are your thoughts on where we stand pandemic-wise? And we're not just talking about we're talking about pandemic with politics.
I still respect the idea of wearing a mask in public. I did it tonight. I was one of the few people who came into the restaurant with the mask. In fact, the restaurant had a website saying that all of their waiters and waitresses will have masks. But that was probably 2 months old, and there was nothing. And you kind of predicted that, Dave, when you were correct.
Right.
In general, I think everybody is just so tired on both sides. We're different, but you can't. In other words, you can't keep up with all the different news of the Moderna is better than the Pfizer. We don't know what's going to happen with the variant, and then in certain states it's really, really bad. At some point, it's just overwhelming. It's like with me with climate change. I'm for Guy McPherson. I saw Michael Mann today in an interview, and I said, "Wow, he's just copying a lot of Guy's ideas." It didn't matter. I can't keep thinking about Guy because I knew he was right in general, but I can't be everything to everybody. I'm just trying to go down with the ship, in the best way possible.
and I think you're right on, as we used to say back in the hip days. I did some. I sound like that. I did some research. I was fascinated, and I don't know. I know more than I've ever known about viruses and vaccines, but it's still infinitesimal compared to what you would need to know to be even considered knowledgeable about the subject. But I couldn't understand why they were saying no to the third booster. There was
What was the
indications.
FDA, right? The FDA said.
Well, it's everybody's all over the board, Brian. I mean, that's what we're finding. So it sounded like at one point they were saying if you use it for them, other people can't get it. Well, I think we're kind of maxed out, with the number of people that are going to take it. I think now I read if it's true, 75% of Americans age eligible have at least one or two shots. We're finding out that it may or may not be, losing effectiveness. Like you said, one day it's Pfizer better, one day it's Moderna. Now, I understand it's new. I give them, but I will say this. If we don't learn from this, that we have one fucked up system of handling any type of pandemic. And that's not all. I'm not excusing Donald Trump a bit, but you want to know something? As you CDC can't get any records. These records are hidden. This isn't there. It's just abysmal, right? How are we going to do that? I mean, we're relying on Israeli studies now, and then you've got,
They're just doing that because it's a smaller country, and they're the ones that really pushed.
Well, I know, but
I don't think they have it. I think they're just looking for speed, and that's the way to do it.
Well, and I think there comes a point, it really doesn't matter, does it, Brian? I mean, I don't want to go, make it today and put it in tomorrow. But at this point, I don't see any problem with taking the vaccine every other day. I mean, it's not. I mean, I took it. If it works, it works. It does. There was some thought, and I'm sure there were, when I say ignorant, that's unknowledgeable people like me. I thought actually the vaccine booster shot would be different. It's not. It's just a third shot at this point. They may make it later. And then if you want to lose some sleep, it's, I was going to write down the name too. There's not a variant, something different in India that makes this look like a walk in the park. Or not Israel, I'm sorry, India. That makes this look like a walk in a park. So I don't think we're done with the pandemic. So I really, 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 like you said, Brian, we're all overwhelmed. Hospitals, everyone, whether you're involved or not. You teach, schools, you're seeing, New Jersey's vaccination rate is pretty good. You're not seeing the COVID cases that you're seeing in Mississippi. The irony of it is, if Chris Hayes is right, and usually he is, Mississippi has the strictest vaccine requirements for young kids in America, right? And they refuse to do this because it's political.
Sandy's mentioning, do we think that the anti-vax campaigns are the same thing as the troll farm? Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, look what's going on in Russia now with the Duma elections, and they're blocking, Navalny's party again, and they're calling it an extremist organization, and Apple and Google are going for it and say, okay, you can't have the app. So, yes,
which I find horrendous.
Absolutely terrible. And that they gave in on that.
How much money do you need, Zuckerberg and whoever the head of Google is, that you
and he's a Russian, a former Russian, Sergey Brin,
No, but I'm just saying. I mean, pull
and Larry, whatever, Page
don't
or
listen,
something.
Don't what do you think? Putin's going to send his night troops to your house and kill you? But again, we let.
I mean, it's going to come from everywhere now. So, yes, I mean, it's obvious that the cat's out of the bag. They see it works. The propaganda machine works. And that's because I think they're relying on stupid people and people like Trump who have an agenda. And the Russians realize we've got it. And it's usually the Russians, right?
And I'm going to take a little tactic. I agree that they're involved. I think it's our own people now. I don't. I mean,
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't
yeah.
matter. They're all kind of the same. And I've said this before, Dave. Said the people who support Putin, in my interactions with them, they sound almost exactly like Trumpers.
Yeah.
And
And,
what can you say? It's all
you've got these-
overwhelming.
I mean, think about this for a moment. Now, I said, so I will take some credit for saying it. The military would hold. Remember, I said the military would hold, and it did. But man, I don't want to go through that again. Okay, because I could have been just as wrong as I am right. So now we got my talking about to the Chinese about assuring them that we're not going to attack them. And suppose we didn't have those back channels. Suppose they really thought Trump was. And you know, my biggest fear of Donald Trump was not realized when he took office. I said, okay, I think he's going to bomb somebody. You know, now, interesting enough, he didn't, right? He almost was, of course, he did cozy up to dictators and that. But I mean, at least he didn't bomb people. But the next person, and your boy, the guy had his shirt on, Flynn, that's a bad duo, and one of whom is still in the Pentagon.
Right.
and-
That's
And
Flynn. You know, that's a real dangerous son of a bitch. He's the one I really
well,
worry about.
well, and you've got, you know, I hate to keep coming back to Nixon and the Republican Party of that period. Nixon was a bad dude. Okay, I mean,
He
was a bad
was.
dude. He was a bad dude. He didn't do everything that was awful, but he was a bad dude, and he betrayed the presidency, and the Republicans jumped on that. But on his worst day, what Richard Nixon did pales in comparison to at least 5 or 6 things that Donald Trump did, and they're not moving. They're not moving. If anything, they're moving. They've decided this is the way to go. Now, as the numbers decrease, I'd love to know. I think kind of logic dictates that they've lost more COVID deaths than we have. That would make sense to me. But a couple other things that have been surfacing that I think we need to pay attention to. You know, we're focusing on the deaths, and that's something we should focus on, right? But have you been reading recently about the increasing number of what they're calling long COVID? You know,
No, but I can imagine.
what that is you survive, but brain fog, lung problems, really serious conditions that could last for a long, long time. And once you get COVID and whatever happens to you, in other words, that is treated as already a done condition. Like, you know, if you don't have anything wrong and you can get more boosters and all that, that's fine. Now, Brian, do you get the flu shot?
No.
No. Will you this year?
No.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because I've been successful for 2 years wearing this mask. I'm confident that I have a good chance of not being sick. I use the 95 mask, and I think that's what I'm going to be using for a long time now.
Okay. So you're not worried, as some people are saying, that you know, the reason people didn't get the flu, which I think is true, is, you know, we weren't going out, but we are now, and you know, the flu, you know, minor, you know, but it's just interesting. So I'm not attacking you one way or the other.
No, I understand.
Or
No,
not. No, but it's just interesting because that's kind of the logic. You know, at some point you have to say. Now, I liked Sarah Palin's thing today because you know, I think she gave Tina Fey a wonderful chance to reproduce her in actuality. You know, she's kind of died out, but she wants to get back a little bit in the game. I don't know. She had a thing today where she said, "I'm not getting the vaccine." Well, gee, there's a surprise, right? But she said, no, and it was the most intelligent thing she said. She said, I've had COVID, and I've read, and I have too, that actually if you get COVID and survive, you have more antibodies building up than if you get the booster. And that indeed probably is true. But I still don't see a reason, you know, why anyone wouldn't get the vaccines, except maybe they're like you with the flu. I'm okay. I'm not.
But not only that, you know, in other words, some of it's laziness, some of it's the fact you have to have multiple shots. It's just that, you know, if you can deal with COVID, we should be able to deal with the flu. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do.
No. But what I'm saying is, it's just interesting because on every level, we all pick and choose. And I've said before, and I will say this, I think forever, one of America's biggest problems has been, and I don't see any end for it ever, is where does an individual's rights stop? And the concepts of others or society or the group, where do their rights, begin? And right now, if you choose not to get the vaccine for COVID, you're a risk. You're entitled to that. If you couldn't give it to anybody but yourself, fine. If you could only give it to people who didn't even get the vaccine. And now we're beginning to see, and I certainly don't have a problem with this. We're starting to see now, I don't know if you've been following that, I think it's good. Now we're going the other way because of the fact that just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean you can't get it. And if you get it, even if you don't get sick, you can still spread it. Now, a lot of places are going with, you must have within 48 hours or 24 if you're vaccinated, COVID tests. So we're going somewhere where we have to do that. And so Judy and I were looking into it. And it ranges on a scale of 0 cost to you. And if you have no insurance and you have to get that, if your insurance has, it's $250 for the test. Now, that's not, but so we haven't even looked at who's making the money. I mean, this is free to us, but somebody's making the money. So of course it's the pharmaceutical companies. Now, do we call bad on them when they're making something that may be saving our lives? Do we wish that they were Jonas Salk, who gave away the polio vaccine formula for free? He said, this is something for mankind, not for me. We mentioned Zuckerberg. You can mention Bezos. Was AOC, eat the rich, now address, and I guess I kept saying it's tiring. You said everything is tiring, right? It's very, very, very tiring. I have two people that I focus on more than any other in the whole entire world. That would be my two grandchildren, who will be, as I said, will be returning to the States, and their mother and father, which of course we were involved in that too. We're worried that they would not get vaccinated in Australia before they returned. And today, because it's Sunday in Australia, they were both scheduled to get their first shot. So that's good. But they'll come back with that. But what does that mean? What was it? You're in school with kids. I'm sure there are cases in your school. You don't go into. You shouldn't say because it's spreading this. Don't say. Right. I'm sure there are. Not probably, as I said, I would expect not to the numbers in other places, but certainly there.
Well, the county is a little bit in trouble because there are a lot of unvaccinated people in the county. They're afraid. If you put down some information that there might be repercussions, those kind of things.
Well, our numbers are up here, and we're running a very high vaccination rate in Arlington County, but it's still you get the rebound. And people are still missing the key. The key is not to fill up the hospitals, not to kill the doctors and the
don't get a broken arm because you aren't going to get it fixed.
Those stories will just keep coming. You saw the little boy who couldn't get treated, died. What was it? 60-year-old man, heart attack. Yes, I believe the number was 23 hospitals in 4 states. Nobody had room. He died. So. I do a lot of talking, but something my wife says, she does very little talking. A couple of days ago, we were going into DC, and to get in, if we go in, there's a number of ways we can get in on the metro, but the most direct is we go across this one bridge, and we're there, like 3 metros. As we're going over that bridge, I don't even talk about something. She said, "You know what? I don't know now the clear blue sky, but the really one she says, I am terrified for our grandchildren." Yeah, well. Yeah, I am too. And we do our little part. We all do our little part. But it's a big hunk of problems that are kind of tied in, right, to this. We haven't, how long has it been on this show since we talked about systemic racism? A huge problem. How long has it been since we talked about we could do this 24/7, 365 with different themes.
Yeah, Sandy, you should come on the show with us. Maybe next show if you want. Just boom, come on.
Anytime, Sandy. Anytime at all. You know that. Gives me a chance to
By the way, that
Press.
reminds me, Dave. Guy Lane wants to come on again. Just so you know,
absolutely no.
we haven't talked to Guy in a while.
God,
Interesting
again,
man.
it's and I'm not talking about Sandy or I'm not talking about anyone else. I've tried to get I don't know, rough case scenario, 12 people in DC to come on, and they mean well, but it's just oh no, I don't want to do it. Or and this is a valid thing. Some people are concerned about their work. I have a couple attorneys who who would be great. Who don't want to do this, and I've said it before too, Brian. I don't know that. I'm just saying, as an educator, I mean, we live lives ourselves, and I would do this show if I were an educator, but I don't know if I would talk about the things that I talk about in class, right? And I think I would, and so I probably would be called on the carpet, which I was anyway. But it's just.
It would be a lot different now for you, Dave.
Oh, I no. One of my bosses said, I took offense at it. She said, you couldn't last a minute in today's school.
You would last, but
I could. No, I said I could last 2 minutes. And I'm just laughing. I know it's.
you'd put up a good fight.
And there's another thing too. We're in serious jeopardy with our educational system. I mean, big time. And then we've got guns, and then we've and it just gets overwhelming. So, my but what I think we all have to do. Is do two things I hope this show provides is in some way fight back, whatever you can do, wherever you are in the world, to fight back against the badness, if you want to say it, or the evil or whatever's out there. And secondly, find groups like this where on your down night, somebody can kind of work and cheer you up, not say it's all good. Another night they can work with me, another night it can be, whomever. And we move on. Well, let me ask you one last question. This is my last question tonight. Okay, we just went on all these problems. What do you think if tomorrow you could eliminate one problem that's facing America? Don't worry about the world. And climate change is facing the world, but it's facing America too. Which one, if you could do this, the snap of the fingers, you think would be, what's the cliche, the most bang for your buck?
Well, if I have to be logical about it, I have to look at the graphs, and the graphs would say the economic disparity be the number one reason why we have this problem. And I think that if you could somehow change that, I'm not talking about taxation, even maybe taxation, but just philosophically speaking, you cannot have this legacy wealth being dropped in people's laps while other people have to fight to get a sock. It's an overpopulation's the thing. I don't know, Dave.
That's it. There you are. That's the only answer we can give, right? Honestly, that's the answer. And sometimes it changes with the day. This week with all
capitalism is a problem, but I don't know what else you're going to get in place of it right now. That's
that's
I believe that socialism would be better. I don't know. You probably agree with me, but
I would agree. But see, the problem is, whenever you start talking about organizations, right, or forms of government, you're talking about people leading it, and they're the problem, right? Donald Trump was the catalyst that brought a lot of these in. Without Donald Trump, do you get that? Do you really think we'd be in the same situation had Jeb Bush done either won the Republican nomination or won the presidency? I don't. Can't swear to that. So it was like, Trump, a lot of bad people. Trump brings them together.
This one, by the way, might be the one. I think Republicans would be forced to do something on climate change.
I agree.
And when you get the category 8, when there really isn't a category for it, they will kind of get it.
That's the one that I throw my hand. I agree. But that's the one. It's like, man, that's even more overwhelming because that's every country, every person doing their part.
It has to get worse, Lori. Unfortunately, it has to get worse, and we've got to have all kinds of tidal flooding. You've got to see the methane increase. You've got to see the temperatures skyrocket over. Then something will be done out of necessity. But if we're expecting, simply, Joe to take care, Joe's trying, he knows it's real. I mean, his advisors are probably saying behind the scenes, look, Joe, this thing's out of control. The whole thing could end in 6 years. I mean, they're coming around. They're getting every year they get closer and closer to what Guy McPherson.
But the question is, when is what was the prediction this week? 2 degrees Celsius in a raise in temperature worldwide. Do you know what
right.
that
I mean,
will
that'll
do?
do it. Even 1.5, they say. I'm just saying, you don't realize how important water is until you walk through the desert and you don't have, or until you find, a bottle of cold water. I mean,
and what's interesting, I think there are people, as there always are, well, it won't really affect me because I have money, or it won't really affect me because I'm here or I'm there. It's not going to affect everybody the first day, right? But what's going to happen is it's going to affect the poor first, and then they're not going to be so nice. They're not going to have a land. They're going to have, they're going to come. They're coming. They're coming for you. And boy, is this a goddamn depressing Saturday night. Jesus, Christmas. But I'm sure there were a couple friends like you and I, without all our other friends out there, sitting on a hill in Athens in Socrates' time, commiserating of the bad times and the end is nigh. One difference. In Socrates' time, they could not destroy the world environmentally, the entire world. They could not destroy the entire world, nuclear weapons. And actually, Brian, they could not destroy the world. It would be tougher to destroy the world with a pandemic, right? And we have all of that. Oh, put that one up. I want shameless self-promotion. Don't get that. Of course, everybody should read my book. So thanks, Anthony. Anybody wants it? I wasn't going to go there. Brian, thank you for recording that tonight when you went to dinner with Sybil. Now, do you want me to talk about your dinner with Sybil tonight? Or
No, I didn't eat.
I hate this. This show. People say, Dave and Brian, they're doing the in jokes. That's terrible. So
in
Brian,
jokes.
So when you're not scratching your back, and you're not today, Donald Trump's been gone, what, how many months now? I mean, not gone, but I mean out of the presidency. Too few. February, March,
6
April,
months,
May.
maybe.
Six, I was going to say 6 or 7 months. Right? More optimistic, less optimistic about America's future. Where do you stand?
I can't be optimistic the way things are going. All I can say is that we're in a situation that's better than it was 6 months ago. A lot better. However, I don't have the positivity that Steven Pinker has or George Will has. That life has life has gotten better in general, but over time. But all you need is the one mistake, and apparently we're making it.
The way I respect Pinker a lot. He's far more knowledgeable than I am at studying. But my thing always comes back to this: America should be better than we are, right? We should. I'm not talking about exceptionalism. We should be better as humans than we are, right? And we're not. So everyone, again, thank you for attending the Saturday Night Church of Doom, Destruction, back scratching, and videos. And I usually blame Brian. You notice tonight I didn't for any technical glitches, because to be honest with you, I rushed them too. And had I had more time, I wouldn't have sent them necessarily the way I did. At least the videos got on, so that was something. I'll post the pictures tomorrow. So Brian, again, thank you for having me. Anthony, thank you for promoting my book. Can I do one shout out to myself?
Sure.
Okay. I looked the other day, I was checking. Do you know that currently, as we sit here tonight, I have the 1,946,737 best-selling book on Amazon, and there's only, so it means there are 3 books selling less than mine, which I think is kind of great, you know, it's just laughingly.
Well,
C'est la vie, Mr. Weinstein.
all right. We'll end
C'est la
with
vie.
a Super 8 movie. Why not? 1971 at the barbecue.
50 years ago.
Yes.
Is Jimi Hendrix in it? Oh, he's dead already. Never mind.
Hold on. It isn't happening yet.